Call of Duty League is brought to you by T-Mobile. T-Mobile is the shot caller in 5G. Lead the game from the lobby to the last push with America's largest, fastest, and now most reliable 5G network.
Street and bottom building, and there they get three. They flooded through the bottom. Last guy up around the hard point with Arcitys. He's just laying prone, waiting for the help to come in. But Envoy again, brilliant as he gets near the objective. The break is through once again, and OpTic Chicago get the map 1 win.
Nice.
Go, Dill, give me some. Good.
It's back and forth, and OpTic able to win round 5.
Let's go.
Go, baby. Let's go.
Gonna be a big one-on-one here. aBeZy hit down to 60, hit down to 30. The pinch is in, the win is in, and finally OpTic, they get their win in the series. They take a search and destroy, and you can see the boys are fired up about that one.
Let's go, baby!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Just days ago, OpTic Chicago, this very lineup, taking down the Atlanta FaZe, handing them their 5th loss of the season. I mean, what's up? This has to do wonders for this roster. We talked about this team, how they've constantly met up against the Atlanta FaZe, but have just not been good enough. OpTic with a huge win over that team, and now putting themselves with a win today, they could start off 4-0 in this very group. One that's been chaotic, one that's been crazy. What a start it could be for OpTic if they were able to sweep this group. It would be their first time walking away with the first seed all season long. Oh boy, it's going to be a fun one. Of course, it's Leto and Standy to join you guys again. It was a crazy Game 5 series that we witnessed, but on topic with that stud, Ravens versus OpTic, how you feel about Chicago's chances, as we mentioned, of going 4-0 to start?
Well, I'm definitely really confident in them going 4-0 because when you're coming off a win versus FaZe, the best team in the game, your momentum, everything is just all the way skyrocketing, man. You could just tell as we heard the ending of that, everyone was just getting hyped, man. Finally getting over that hump for the OpTic boys was such a big part. It's not going to be easy because London, they don't really have much to play with, so they're just trying to spoil a lot of teams' parties right now, and OpTic, they just cannot allow that to happen. They need to get this first seed going into that Major 5.
Well, there's no party like an OpTic party, that's for sure. They would definitely be celebrating after a win today. Can they make it a 4-0 start to stage 5 with the Ravens now being in their crosshairs? Let's go ahead and meet the team, OpTic Chicago.
Brutal, mighty keeps it going. Normal, looking fantastic. Envoy slaying his way through. Scump from up high, the king.
I'm out here doing what they thinking is irrational.
Really starting to run that score up.
I'm gonna make it back, make it back, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, OpTic game in a back. Chicago are a force to be reckoned with.
There you have it, OpTic Chicago. Again, they cannot be understated. A major win versus the Atlanta FaZe to close out their last week. And I mean, what's that? I mean, how does it really affect the comms? How does it affect the chemistry of the team, the confidence of this group when you take down a very, very difficult roster like Atlanta?
I'm telling you, when probably the comms before then, it's just like, all right, guys, let's go out there and do our best. We haven't beat these guys all year. But then once you beat that team in Atlanta FaZe the way that they did it, all the way in the round 11, this is where they start thinking about championships. We finally got over that hump, man. We have what it takes to compete with the best in the game. Everyone right now is playing really consistent, especially Envoy. The guy is having himself a stage, man. In the series versus FaZe, he had like a 1.2, and he basically shut down Simp and aBeZy, and you don't really see that often, man. But he can continue to play with that much confidence on this team. They're going to be scary for these last 2 events that we have.
Well, without a doubt, my friend. As you mentioned, Envoy's been going off for the Chicago side, and I guess you could say on topic with the SMGs. Our next team that we're about to meet, it was all the SMGs when they took down the Subliners in a crazy Game 5 series. It was Alexx and it was Afro. It was the Alexx and Afro show, really, and they're looking to maybe have a second episode, maybe even a second season. Let's go and meet the group, though. Your London Royal Ravens. You love them. It's the London Royal Ravens. What, man? I mean, I tell you what. They come into that last series versus the Subliners. Not a whole lot of people thinking too much of this team. But as we mentioned, it was Afro and Alexx, but specifically, it was that man, Alexx, who took over for what feels like the first time this year.
Yeah, I felt like ever since Alexx has made his return to the CDL, he hasn't really been comfortable, man. He was sitting at a .61, and that's something that I was not expecting. When you think of a player like Alexx, this is a guy who has the potential to be one of the top submachine guns. I remember when I used to watch him and Dylan, they used to always have that battle back in the day, but he's finally feeling more comfortable with this roster, and it definitely showed in that series versus New York. But let's just hop right into our keys to victory for the London Royal Ravens. We've been waiting for the arrival of Alexx. Player that, when he plays that confident, he really took over versus New York. He had a 1.18 on the series. Like I said, ever since he's came back, he's at a 0.61, so that's such a drastic jump. You're going to need that guy to continue up his gameplay. And then also, Alexx and Afro looked excellent in their last series, but in this matchup here, it needs to be a full-on team effort because so far, at least for the two ARs, they're sitting at 0.8. You need those guys to step up. SMGs are dominating, at least off of their previous matchup, but when you're going up against OpTic, you got Dashy, you got Formal. So you need Construction Man Seany, and you need the Red Menace and PaulEhx to really go off.
Yeah, it has to be a team effort. And I know quickly, just on topic with Alexx, I think it was Breaking Point, shout out to those guys. They posted like 4 years ago, you know, on the day, it was Alexx under that Uni-led team back in World War II frying. Like we said, he could be the ultimate difference in the series today, along with the rest of the roster. But now our game field keys to victory here for OpTic Chicago continue to dominate in the respawns. And what, they're 3-1 in hardpoint. Their only loss coming to Atlanta FaZe, and so far 3-0 in control. As you mentioned, Stud, Envoy was unstoppable in the win versus FaZe, a 1.21 KD in that series. That same level of play today could cause some problems for the Royal Ravens. And then finally, and I'm gonna let you kind of, I guess, talk more about this. Continue to take calculated risks in the search and destroy. Talk to me about that with this OpTic team.
Yeah, so what I mean by that is just basically when you're watching them in Search and Destroy, they're most successful when Envoy and Scump are working together. And then even in that series versus FaZe, in a 5-5 situation, we're talking about those calculated risks. There's no way in hell you expect a player in a 5-5 to run straight up the middle of the map, to be aggressive as they were to get that guy off bomb, and that's exactly what they did. Envoy was that player to push up the middle of the map, open up with that first blood, and then the trade started going back and forth, but it was great. As long as OpTic can just keep that up. The teamwork, the aggression that Scump and Envoy do in Search and Destroy is so beneficial to their overall game mode in S&D. They need to keep that up and continue to take those calculated risks to close out some of these games.
We'll see how they fare on both Moscow and the Raid S&Ds, and what, it's going to be Raid and Moscow throughout the entirety of this bad boy. As we said, Raid Hardpoint, Moscow S&D, Raid Control, Moscow Hardpoint, and Raid S&D to close out this series, if it does end up coming down to that Game 5. And what's that? I think it was the Ravens who happened to win a Moscow S&D and a Raid Control in their last series. Only thing was that it was their first wins on those particular map and mode combinations this entire year. So there's that.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty difficult, man. They won Moscow Search and Destroy the first time ever versus New York, and the same thing with Control Raid. So you're going up against a difficult team in Chicago who really enjoy those maps, and just Hardpoint Moscow, Hardpoint Moscow, Hardpoint, Raid Moscow, Raid Moscow. It's going to be all over the place with these maps. But in this very first map, I think Chicago, sitting at a 4-6 record, they're going to have a little bit more experience compared to London, who are sitting at 2-4. Just the biggest takeaway on this map for me has to be P2. Whoever can dominate the kitchen holds is going to be able to close this one out.
Chicago starting off with that preferred spawn, as you mentioned, toward that back kitchen side. It'll be the middle left of your screen in case you are maybe new to the Call of Duty League. We first of all welcome you. What should be a phenomenal way to close out the day. Chicago versus Ravens getting started. As it's OpTic walking away with the early time. You do see a few of the Ravens players, those red arrows, making their way through mid-pit. Be tempting at the idea of going for a kitchen push. They see no adversity at pillar, so they say, you know what? Let's go toward the entire backside of kitchen. We'll see if it'll work out as Formal laying prone. He drops. Ravens players dropping from the front and also getting handled from the back as Dashy nearly with that third kill. Could have been a nice way to start, but still 2-0 for him. OpTic off to a wonderful beginning as once more it's the Ravens' turn to fire their way into kitchen, but it appears it was too good to be true. Too good to be true.
It had to be.
Hey, you know what?
It had to be a little bit too good to be true.
It was too good of, hey. Too solid? I don't know. No, of course, folks. We'll get some word on exactly what went down. Probably a controller problem, maybe a connection issue. Want to make sure that we're in the best position as possible. Being told that it was in fact a mini map problem with one of our players. Instead, it's important to have your mini map. You know, it's important.
Yeah, you
Kinda
need
crucial.
that. There's no way you can play Hardpoint without a mini map. There's no way you can keep track of whatever is going on. So we're gonna get the restart in, but just to talk a little bit more about these two teams, man. London, they're playing spoiler. They know that they're not able to compete at champs, so it's all about just ruining some of these other teams' chances at getting a better seed, and that's exactly what they were able to do last week when they played against New York. We weren't expecting them to come out and win that series, but just tremendous performances out of those SMG players. I feel like Afro, for that team, is a guy that is going to be around for quite some time, man. Ever since he's entered the league for this London roster, he's just been that guy to talk about with this team. He used to be PaulEhx, but now Afro, he's really taking the shine for me.
Yeah, I think it was Pac-Man who I think was like on social media talking about how much or how impressed he's been with Afro's play. And, you know, despite it being the Ravens, their second victory with this entire lineup, which started back in stage 4, you know, it hasn't been the greatest kind of moment for the Ravens. And we talk about, you know, teams who have handled adversity, teams who have gone through a lot. What's up at the Subliners. The same can be said for a team like the Ravens as well. Again, a number of different roster changes, through the first like 3 to 4 stages. It was a new group every time. The only player who's been here since the very beginning and been through it all is the Scotsman there, that third player from the left in Seany. And as we said, this roster's gone through a lot, trying to make good on what will be their final event of the season, and that stage 5 major, as you labeled it. And like we said, Stud, there's still a lot to fight for. I mean, we talk about champs. You know, obviously it's hard for a lot of teams because you want to be at the biggest event of the year. There's no question about it. But you still have a $500,000 prize pool at that major. So again, we talk about there's a lot to play for in terms of pride and also in terms of cash. I think it's very fair to mention that too.
Yeah, London, that's their only focus right now, is to try to perform the best they can at that Major 5, because 500 grand, that's a big bag, man, if you can secure that one, man. But let's just hop right back into our game 1. Hopefully everyone has their mini maps, but the way that Afro's all spawned, it's looking like there's going to be another issue, so we might get another restart here.
I don't know, and this definitely was not intended, but like Afro was like bugging out for the Codcaster for a moment. I'm like, what's going on? Is he like literally destroying his trigger, just like bouncing up and down, maybe using that back scuff pedal? Not exactly sure. But again, we apologize, folks, for the few problems that we're having to start off the game. Again, it's just too good. Like, we talk about raid. We got 3 raids in Moscow, 2 of my personal favorite maps, as we'll be pinballing back and forth between them throughout the entirety of the series. But like I said, maybe it's just too good to be true. We can't start off OpTic Chicago and London Royal Ravens after a phenomenal series like that and expect not to have problems. It's gonna happen, you know. It's gonna happen all the time. What are you gonna do, stud? You gotta have a mini map, you know. You gotta have good connection.
Yeah,
part of the game.
You need a mini map. You need it. You just need it, man. But hopefully we're able to get into this game 1 soon, because I can't wait for it to start.
Yeah, absolutely. As we heavily anticipate what could be a phenomenal start to this series. But folks, we're gonna throw it to a quick little commercial break. When we come back, it will be the start of this series. Great Hardpoint, Chicago versus London. Stay with us.
And give him an intro.
Remember when Zin said that to Ben?
Yo, listen.
Yep.
Yo, no stupid.
I want to hear vibes in the comms.
I'm always vibing in the comms.
Anyone but Sam. Anyone but Sam. Vibe in the comms.
Ben, I'm still waiting for an intro.
Hello, what's going on, guys? Let's kick it off.
All right, boys, let's take it to him today, bro. We can mind these kids right here.
Game starts in 2 minutes.
Roger.
Roger that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That's more like it, boys.
Oh my god, I'm in the mix now.
Vampires will deep melee. Good 20 seconds ago.
Hard point. Oh, baby.
A triple.
We're about to these guys. What? That's how you guys say it. There we go.
What does that mean?
It literally means
nothing.
It literally means it's a made up word. It's a made up word.
Like subliners. Made up word.
I don't get it.
Used to.
Nothing.
You thought we should call me a.
I think you did, yeah.
No way. Yeah, man. Get that on the comms.
Yeah, get on the. Come check on you legends. Honestly, me and Alex are kind of fast. Like, should have seen it.
I'm rapid, mate.
I'm kind of quick.
me,
Yeah,
bro.
that
I'm
was kind
rapid
of
as well.
That's some pace.
This guy's a knobhead. Oh, that's a bad word, Sam. Good God.
Yeah, my bad.
What is that? Is that English? Mate.
Captain Headspace over here.
This one to your left, man.
No, because remember we lose when we do our fist bumps, man.
I just fist bump the cam.
Never heard of a wait, like that. Tim, did you get a haircut?
Yeah.
Aren't you gonna grow out your hair long or something like that?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Don't act like you know him.
Oh my god. Part-time gamer. Full-time comedian.
Alrighty, friends, welcome back. We once again do apologize for the minor delay that we're experiencing in the game, but I'm being told that everything's being worked out, so you have nothing to worry about. Anyway, now it's time to take a look at our Group A standings, and obviously, Stud, after that last series that we had for the Subliners and the Legion, that definitely kind of shifts things around a little bit. Obviously, the Ravens, they could be in a good spot putting themselves down at 2-2. Same thing for OpTic. They're trying to, continue to dominate in regards to that winner's side. They could very well start off 4-0. There's a lot of little storylines going down in regards to this group. It's been back and forth, and it would not surprise me if now coming in toward the major that we could have some, I don't know, maybe some tiebreakers go down.
I think that OpTic, if they come out and win this, they're going to be able to just take that first seed.
Right.
They have the head-to-head versus FaZe, so even if FaZe win their the match that they have to play later on this week versus NYSL, still the head-to-head, OpTic will still take first. I think FaZe will be able to take the second, but the third one is really up in the air for me because obviously the Thieves are tied at 2-2. With Paris losing that matchup, that was huge because they had that head-to-head. So Paris had the opportunity to put themselves in winners, but that loss is going to really hurt them. So now Thieves, they have to try to come out and win their final series in that Group A to make it towards winners.
Yeah, and I know that kind of heavily emphasizes, which I know London's here to play against OpTic, but there will be a matchup going down between London and Paris. I know we're getting a little bit kind of, into the very technicalities of, how this one could kind of work. But again, that match may be, more emphasized more than ever in regards to how this year has broken down. So definitely make sure to be watching out for the Battle of Europe. I think that match going down on Saturday, I want to say. But let's go ahead and get back into to how this match is going. I think we just went through a little test. I was watching PaulEhx shoot a van for about 15 seconds. It appears that his gun's firing quite well. So with that, now our Scuff quick scope, and when we take a look at the numbers, pretty one-sided. Let's go ahead and say it that way, Stud.
Yeah, it definitely is. But the main focus for me, at least for this series, has to be that search and destroy.
Okay.
Obviously, OpTic sitting at 24 and 22, but London at 11 and 26. That's where it really scares me because we watched London last week versus New York. They were able to walk away with the games 1, 3, and 5.
There you go.
But then eventually, it's just their S&D just hasn't been really clicking for them. And OpTic, at least as of recent, their search and destroy is on point. So unless London can match that energy, match the aggression that OpTic are able to put on, then I feel like this series is going to be done and dusted real quick because at least what we got a little taste of that first map. OpTic were looking great to start that map number one.
They definitely were. They were starting off a good 30, 40-0, and yeah, you got to imagine. You're happy to have a second, third, maybe fourth go of it if you are the Ravens, and who knows, maybe this time they'll strike best. But yeah, I feel like when we talked about the London Royal Ravens in regards to this, opening hard point, I don't know, like, obviously you and I, we've casted for the Ravens a lot throughout the year. You know, we've talked about the struggles that they've gone through, but I feel like the continuous talking point around them has been just good starts, right? It's like been the early hardpoint losses have really plagued them. The search and destroys, right? They started off in stage 1, like winless in S&D, and that constantly caused them problems because if they weren't winning hardpoints, Lord knows they weren't winning the S&Ds. And like I said, if it really comes down to good starts, and as you mentioned, the Ravens, they get a good start versus the Subliners, and then from there, they had that cushion throughout the remainder of the series. This game 1, without a doubt, incredibly important for this Ravens roster, as I believe we are good and ready to go. As we said, 3rd time's the charm, possibly. And it appears that Ravens are starting better than they have yet. So that's a positive if you're a London fan, stud.
Yeah, this is great. They off the initial engagements, they're able to win a couple gunfights, get some early pressure on towards this P1 hardpoint. The hill is going to be currently contested, but they're doing a great job of just picking up these kills around it. Now it's all about just trying to flip these spawns, and with 3 dead, it's time to start being aggressive, and that's exactly what's going to happen, as 1 player is going to spawn in towards back laundry. 3 players from OpTic are actually going to spawn all the way towards garage. And if you're London, this is the best possible start off. You just have to try to locate this player in Envoy, because he's going to try to spoil it for OpTic and flip these spawns on their head.
Yeah, big plays coming in from Envoy. Paul, meanwhile, was trying to hold off the onslaught coming in from middle. Envoy will at least have Scump to join alongside of him for the start of this kitchen hill, but a 40-point start, 40-point advantage, rather, for London, as we labeled it. A total flip-flop from the way that this one initially began. Afro tosses out the nade, receiving some fire from that bank in the top money window, but he is going to get the assistance, and that's a great hold there coming in from the Ravens. They break on in despite some good heroics out of the Chicago SMGs, but they hold the line, and now they set themselves up quite nicely for the remaining 30, as it's now into the 3-on-3.
Yeah, and before the series even started, I said that Afro is taking the spotlight away from Mr. Red Menace himself, but he's taking it right back. So far in the beginning of this game, he's sitting at 7-2, not able to pick up some streaks, but just keep up the slaying for his teammates, as they are going to have to hit the rotation towards this garage hill. Formal's going to be the only player from OpTic in this position, so he has to just try to stay alive, play, and wait for his teammates to eventually get towards him, as the pinch is going to be coming through the middle of the map. Number 7 in Envoy is able to spot 1. They just have to try to find one of these kills before the hill pops, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Envoy finds the first, and eventually the pinch is going to be set up.
Pesky Envoy trying to make a stamp of approval happen inside of the flank as he gets cut down. Then that puts all the pressure onto the ARs. Dashy jumps right in the frame of Formal. And with that, the ARs will take control now over at Lambo's. A back-and-forth rotation. Final 20 of Kitchen going the way of OpTic. It appears that they have won the rotation now toward Garage as well. Let's go ahead and step aside and see how those comms are sounding. So we'll go to an Astro Liston now with OpTic Chicago.
Yeah, I got it. Come bring me, Bruce.
I'm up front.
Bait me here. Yep. Let's go show presence in the back and then hit kitchen maybe.
Alright, yeah, I'm down for that. I'm flashing top.
I'll meet up with you guys kitchen.
Can I flash on top?
Okay, Bruce, you can stay here if you want.
Yeah,
we're gonna go back to kitchen.
Yo, one's but on us.
I fucked up my nade.
Paul dead.
Nice, we can him in.
I'm on a 6, guys. Wait for me, catch.
You ready? I'm flying. Let's kitch. Behind pillar, back door weak.
I'm coming.
Yo, pillar weak. Money and money. Money and pillar.
Money, more money.
Seth, let's jump up.
I'll bait you.
Yeah, he's left side pillar.
Front side hill. They have no trophies.
Pillar weak, Paul. More money.
I have your child.
Money.
I'll kill money.
Money weak to the right. Laying down.
Nice.
Go in the back, yeah.
Go and cut out.
I'm going cut out with you, though.
I'm going from.
Cut out.
Let's cut out then.
Nice.
One here. Deep back.
I'm the head.
Watch out.
Nice, 2. We spawn front.
One shot time, absolute time.
Yeah,
absolute time, back left.
Back left.
Dead. Another one close.
Close for the inside hut. I got full streaks though. Inside the
Inside
hut.
hut, dead. One more behind me.
I'm coming.
I'm going ring.
They're gonna be new.
One in front of me.
Yo, front.
Pillars.
Most money.
Nice, 3.
Let's be R. Gonna be R.
He's in new. And you're not weak, Shawnee. They're both.
He's naded.
Dick rock.
Afro, we got our steps. 2 water steps.
He's laying down.
You wanna go water steps?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
I flashed 2 water steps. I can streak
top.
Yo, he's left side water steps. Paul dead.
Watch push, guys.
Another one water steps. Afro weak. Last guy water steps. He's down. He's in the corner.
I'm taking time.
I have water.
I have Zig.
I have
your help Zig. I have an air.
He flashed me in ring.
He
kid. One ring dead.
One more pull, Afro.
I'm still holding.
They're spawning in
push me. Afro, one shot pull. Absolute water steps.
I have a pinch.
One ring on me.
I spawn laundry.
I still have all ring. Ring dead.
Zig, ball,
Ring dead.
ball.
Nice, three.
Put in spawn there, bro.
Right now, one shot. Our side,
Where they spawning? Where they spawning?
Yeah, I heard. Okay. I'm saying on
Shotzzy, he's pushing 2 art on me.
I'm watching Zig.
Two art? Alright, I'm coming up.
Yo, one shot going in money. He's in money, one shot. Afro.
I'll look driveway.
Driveway
I
already,
think one's
Paul.
water.
Driveway and low art.
Already close.
Three there side hill.
Yo, kitchen after dead.
Nice, he's going water.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm
We're
pinching this. I'm
They
pinching
spawn
this.
court behind you, Matt.
I hear you. I'm gonna go village, Brandon.
Or behind you, Brendan.
Our side, Alexx dead.
One shot, jungle.
That's us guy. That's us
Where they
guy.
spawning?
All right, OpTic off to a great start as Dashy already sits at 20-10. And one thing that I took away from those comms, Stud, was really just the management of how OpTic played around Dashy. You heard at different moments Envoy just being super calm. Saying, you know what, Brandon, you're gonna stay here at pit. We'll try to rush on through. You try to play your life. Just the awareness of how valuable those streaks were. And really from there, Chicago just continues to reign on through, up 160 to 110. Just cool, calm, and composed so far from OpTic as Dashy is looking to release that second streak now.
Yeah, and now they know that they have to try to flip these spawns. So at least if they're able to get a good chunk of time off of this P1, they'll still be in the driver's seat. They just cannot allow this time to go in favor of London and also the rotation to go in favor of London. So you see number 7 in Envoy, Mr. Route Man, trying to get paid a little bit more. Going to be pushing himself to water stats, but actually he's shortcut through the middle of the map. I would like to see him go all the way around basketball because now that's going to set up London fully for this kitchen hill, only being down 32 points. This is exactly the situation that London want to be in.
We talk about sprees. I know it was Dashy, Envoy nearly found streaks as well. Afro 1 kill away from earning that artillery barrage. And it's going to be 4 men strong toward the backside of jungle. Shawnee's able to deal with the first. Formal and Envoy there to answer for the other 2. But will it set up Afro as that'll be the first? Trying to stay alive. 50 HP, but can't round the corner. Does earn the artillery at the least. So with 30 very valuable points left up, it's the decision-making of the Ravens with those streaks that could indicate whether or not it will be OpTic continuing to distance themselves or the Ravens bringing themselves back. Sloppy P2 there from Ravens. As OpTic will put themselves once more in the driver's seat. Now coming in toward Garage, what kind of impact can Dashy continue to make? Study sits at 24-13.
The guy's just going off, man. Bruce is answering the call early into this series, and it was just a good job off the rotation. You forced 2 players from Ravens to spawn all the way out across the map. Envoy still in a position, at least blocking that spawn for the time being, but allowing his teammates from OpTic to push around towards this air-conditioned side and try to get some contests going. As you see Scump approaching towards that yellow Lambo, he's actually going to drop. That's going to be 3, make it 4. PaulEhx is able to find 3, currently on a 4 spree. They're trying to put themselves back into this game, only being down 25 points. OpTic only have like 1 or 2 good pushes to try to bake into this because they have to try to focus off the rotation. You just have to keep in mind that Afro still has that streak to work with.
Yeah, I was going to say, they don't have to use it here at Garage in case OpTic got things a little bit too close for comfort. So, but now with basketball court up next, that is a perfect hill to utilize that streak. Is what we're going to be at a Ravens advantage coming in toward this hill. We talked about this one in specific. It could be the biggest money hill of the map. Afro will at least look for the information to start. Does he decide to call this in? As the final few seconds begin to come through. Here come the streaks. The Scump and Dashy getting a little bit close. They will stay alive at the very least, so that streak, well, it does begin to silence things for a moment. Formal does find one from the back, and with that, it's going to be the Ravens having to force this one in from the front. So the streak not really playing as much of a factor as you'd like, and that's going to be 2 big ones coming in from Envoy. Knows where Paul is at. You'd give him the 3rd one as well. Now make it 4 in a row for Envoy as OpTic are within 20 points. They can win it here.
Yeah, OpTic just have to hold. You cannot allow London to try to break in through this front side, but 2 players are actually going to drop. That's going to be able to put the pressure on it through this front. But Formal and Scump, T2P going huge to close out this game number 1. There's enough time here for them to get it done. It's only a matter of time now.
It's a matter of moments. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and you can put this one in the books. It will be another hardpoint victory for OpTic Chicago. The respawns continue to be dominant. And despite the late game heroics, despite the late game streak usage there from Afro and the Ravens, OpTic all the superior. They hold on and they take it at basketball.
Yeah, to get the hold, man. And if you're London, I feel like you should have used that streak a little bit better because there was only one player pushing around the backside. There were two players trying to approach through the middle of the map. But by the time Afro called it in, there was no one forcing or at least blocking a spawn on the side of OpTic. Once they were able to not drop anyone, they got one kill and eventually it was traded. OpTic still had those back spawns, and that's not what you want if you're London. You need to be able to break into that hard point, get some early kills with the rotation to spawn those guys out to make it a little bit easier. But even when they had the man advantage right there, T2P go huge, finding 2 kills each to close out that game number 1. Good first map out of OpTic.
Yeah, great first map and a great team victory as well. But the man who really kind of led, I guess you could say in slang, has to be Dashy. 26 and 17, lays down 4,500 damage. It was his streak to start, and really just his dominance throughout the map just caused the Ravens to have quite a bit of headaches. But with that, it is OpTic answering early in the hard point. Folks, when we come back, it is going to be Moscow search and destroy.
Seany, the official eyewear for the CDL. Armor your eyes with Seany Blocks blue light protection glasses by visiting seany.com/gaming. The Call of Duty League is brought to you by ActiveStat, the next generation analytics platform built with Google Cloud that brings fans, players, and commentators the power of competitive statistics in real time. Get insurance savings and discounts from USAA, the official insurance partner of the Call of Duty League.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back to our second series of the day. OpTic getting the job done to start off in the hard point, and I guess we'll keep the conversation here with this group. Specifically, Stub, we'll be taking a look at search and destroy for this team so far throughout stage 5, and fair to say the numbers very similar.
Yeah, that's pretty consistent if you ask me. It's looking like one of our producers just said it's almost like a straight flush, just right there. Only thing throwing them off is a couple numbers, man. But OpTic and Search and Destroy, they have starting to see success, man. And I just feel like it's a lot heavily on the way that Scump and Envoy play. As long as they are staying aggressive with those SMGs, containing that map control, and just taking constructive risk.
Yeah.
Like, that is the biggest thing, is to make sure that your risks are worth taking. When they find themselves in a 5-5 versus FaZe, running up the mid map was the best call, and it works out for them. So they just need to make sure that they are confident in all their play calls and they're keeping their aggression up to par.
Yeah, I want to ask you too, like on a map like Moscow Search and Destroy specifically, I mean, where do you expect, if those risk, kind of those risk type plays from Scump and Envoy are going to come out, where do you expect it to be on the map, on what side, etc.?
I feel like on defenses, at least early into the game, they're going to be double stacking A. Those two are going to be an army of two on the map, just making sure the engagements are quick. They'll be there to be at it early enough with those SMGs in their hands. But then on the offense, I feel like that is where you allow Envoy to really just spread his wings, become that island player, and slowly work the map by himself, because Scump, he is their bomb carrier. So he's going to work with Formal and Dashy a little bit more on their offenses. But on defenses, I expect Envoy and Scump to run around together.
Very, very well laid out there from good old Jeremy Stud. As now we'll head into the search and destroy. OpTic beginning things off on the attacking side. We'll see who can answer early. Ravens, we discuss, after a game 1 hardpoint loss, the best way to turn things around is just to get a few rounds on the board to start, not allowing that momentum to continue in the opposing team's favor. But with those tacticals tossed down, it will give OpTic the lane necessary toward the top side of Eskies. It is going to be a 3 versus 2 fight if they were to initiate it now. Envoy continues to roam. Nobody yet to drop off the map, though.
Yeah, London are not giving up anything. They're just forcing OpTic to try to make a play. And that's exactly what's going to happen. If the early engagement is going to be on towards A, Scump's actually going to read it. Scump's able to find the second as well. And just like that, if you're London, the coverage that you had at this A bomb is completely going to be decimated. As now OpTic find themselves in a 4v2 situation. Bomb's going to go down. They have the information that 2 players are rotating back through their spawn. It's going to be a difficult task for Seany and PaulEhx, but they can definitely cause some problems. They can open up with at least the early kill.
Nice little angle there from Seany. Through the hedges, nearly. He'll get picked apart there from Dashy, and I want to say that might have been Scump over at the bomb site to find a final player coming through from White, but really just the way that this round started off, excellent plays coming in from Scump, just picture perfect, constant headshots. Off with their heads, says the King, as he'll really wisely back up to place down this objective. And I tell you what, I mean, he's had such a great year in Search and Destroy so far throughout the season, Stud. We talked about his ability, not just in the objective department, but also just in terms of slaying. I mean, well, I think throughout the entirety of the season, he's been kind of in that top 5, top 3 conversation for best S&D KD in the league. It's a mode that he prides himself on.
And that's the craziest part, is that he's up there with some of the best S&D players in this game so far, and he is their bomb carrier. Usually don't see the OBJ player building up some insane stats the way the King is doing recently in this game mode, man. He just has to keep it up for this squad, because S&D is that game mode from back in the day. You win S&Ds, it's going to win you championships. So as long as you keep up that same level of play, that's exactly what's going to happen. And you see the early pressure coming in from Scump and Envoy on towards this A bomb. Unfortunately, Formal is going to drop. The trade is going to be there, but not in a 3v3. London have full control of A.
And with that, they may just, I was going to say, just decided to go ahead and rotate this one. Maybe somewhat uncomfortable given the amount of perspectives that OpTic can hold at that A site. But the one straggler who will stay behind for the time is actually going to be Seany. And with his presence, I mean, if he just fires a few shots, that's instantly going to distract Chicago. But want to try to pounce onto the bomb site. Meanwhile, it's the other side of the map where the objective is in fact going down. So just very well played here from Seany, not just to value his life, but also to free up his teammates, as Afro will shut down Dashy on the boulevard. And with that, it's into the 2 versus 3, the retake necessary for Envoy and Scump. As you said, the 2 players are going to be working so well in tandem throughout the map. Envoy, 74U, no go. Craig, absolutely. But in toward the middle of the bomb site, it is Envoy there with the trade. It's going to have to be the round by himself. Now into the 1v1 versus Seany, and you bet that he'll take that one too. Picture perfect there from Dylan Envoy, as he'll go big in the later stages. It was Ravens who had man count, who had preferred positioning, but it's Envoy who's able to claim the round.
He just made that look so easy. Like, with the first kill, obviously Afro was not going to know this positioning of Envoy. Just a great awareness out of Envoy to pick up that kill. So now it's a 2v2. He spots this player as he gets traded onto Scump, but then he knows that this player, he's already cleared out the street. He's already cleared out the middle of the map. So there's only one possible spot for Seany. This is the guy that was shooting him in the back previously when they were rotating over that bomb site at A. So they knew exactly where he was going to be. Envoy plays it beautifully, is able to spot him, and eventually pick up the kill, close out the round for OpTic. 4 kill spree so far for Envoy. Really having a good map 2 so far.
Yeah, and I also think he had the first blood. So I'm pretty sure that was the ace there for Envoy.
Yeah, that was clean.
That was very clean. I almost didn't know how to call it at the end, because I'm like, he's making this 1v2/2v3 look just all that easy. Excellent plays coming through from this guy as he just had an absolute tear of a performance versus the Atlanta FaZe. Had a 1.2 KD. He's also, along with Dashy and Formal, sits in the top 10 KDs right now. The entire league in Stage 5. But this OpTic team just really seeming to peak at the right time. If they can combine just great search and destroy performance along with how great they've been in the respawns, that could be OpTic's chance. Walking away with a major victory, or at least a solid placement toward the end of the year. But here come the trades. Alexx and Envoy, the first few players to sacrifice their life, and we'll see who it's worth it for as the nice beams come in from Formal. Seany, meanwhile, in this cutoff, could find himself in a good spot, but Scump wins the fight. It's 74 versus Krig in a medium range engagement, and it's the King who's able to win it. As now it's into the 2 versus 1. Afro, as that bomb gets planted, the all more to do. The objective, the kills, better yet the time, but he's got the beams for the first. Afro versus Scump. Veteran versus rookie. What a big round this could be for Afro, making his way all the way toward the backside, but Scump's gonna read him, and he's able to win the round as well. Such great plays from the SMGs, as now it's Scump's turn.
Yeah, that first kill was nasty from Afro. Hit Dashy with that old school drop shot action, but it's not easy when you're still going up against the King in a 1v1, man. He uses his headset right there. The sound cues come in as he does decide to hop on top of that bus stop. Easy gunfight for the King, man. SMG up close. Afro's probably watching Scump back in his prime, man. So that one was one of those for the ages if you're Afro, because I know he's been looking up to Scump for quite some time. And that's a 1v1 that he wish he can get back. But OpTic find themselves up 3-0. Scump once again going clutch. Looking good so far in this search and destroy. Back on the defense, they go, though. And this time, London, they're going to be taking this bomb over towards B. And this might work out completely because no OpTic players are going to be on that side of the map.
Yeah, and when you look at that scorecard, again, it's 3-3 from both Afro and Alexx for the ARs. 0-3 to start, 0-6 combined. We discussed how great it could be for the Ravens to get a W here, but it's going to have to be a team effort. It was the SMGs who shined. What, versus New York? The ARs, they have to have that same type of presence, as Alexx will walk away with the first blood there on to Formal. And Alexx did have a little bit of a slower performance in that raid hardpoint. We talked about his impact, how great he can be for this team. He was the ultimate difference maker, and what put the Ravens in such a prime position. So look to lead the way now with the objective over at the A site. And it's Ravens with numbers.
Yeah, with 30 seconds left, OpTic knows that the pressure is going to be here towards A. They just have to try to locate this player in Seany, as he's going to be setting up for the late flank. But the first blood's going to come in. Afro is able to at least try to even up the numbers, but Dashy's going to be able to get the trade. 2v2. This is where Seany has to start being aggressive. PaulEhx is able to find one, so now it's a 1v1, and there's only 13 seconds left. Seany might not even be able to plant this bomb. Scump knows. Scump is going to have that awareness in. 5 seconds left. He's going to hear all these sound cues, but he's going to jump behind him. He's going to jump behind him and get perfect timing. Seany is able to walk away with the round. If you're Scump, you're just thinking, all we got to do is hide. This one should be in the bag, but Seany did not give up on the play. He hunts down Scump, uses the comms from his teammates to help with the location of the player, and eventually finds it in the nick of time and is able to close out the round for London. There goes one on the board.
Oh, man. Seany had to sprint to get that one. I mean, what, it came down to just mere seconds. I tell you what, I mean, it's kind of an odd play considering that Seany was literally not in the fight whatsoever. But obviously his teammates set him up for the 1 versus 1. They get the information on Scump being toward outer bricks, and he gets the job done. Maybe not in the cleanest of fashion, stud, but hey, a round is a round, and you'll take it considering that you would have been down 4-0 to start. With that, now it's Chicago's turn to wield the bomb once more. And it is going to be in Scump's hand. And dropping to that 1v1 versus Seany, his hope at streaks, potentially, are going to be out the window for the time. But a much slower start to this round as both teams really looking for picks.
Yeah, so right now, OpTic, they just have London all over the map. People are rotating back and forth between bombs. They're trying to figure out what's the game plan from OpTic. And it's looking like they're going to try to be aggressive on towards B. They just have to locate this player in Afro because he's in a great position to at least cause some problems.
He's got to hear that.
And towards this window area.
Oh, come on!
You gotta win that. You gotta win that if you're Afro. But unfortunately, the King makes it look easy. Now, man advantage in front of M4 OpTic.
And it was just choked. Oh, my goodness. That was That's not allowed. That is not allowed. Alexx. Oh, he doesn't see him playing the bomb. This is not a good round for Ravens. We just gotta end that round out. That was not pretty, Study. That was not pretty at all. Let's just act like that didn't happen. All right?
Yeah,
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen. We didn't see the ground bomb. You know, we didn't get the first kill. You know, we had the gunfight advantage. It's all right. Just put that one behind.
Just
but
OpTic
were able to walk away with the round. They dominated. It's okay. It's okay. But I'm looking at, so far for London, down 1-4. PaulEhx and Seany, the AR duo, not really having a good game so far. They need to try to step up and at least tie this series up at one apiece, because you go down 2-0, it's going to be really difficult. These are two maps back-to-back that they were able to find wins for the very first time in the last series they played for. So this is going to be difficult. They had to try to get back into this game.
And a round is desperately needed after what we just witnessed there in that round number 5. But if the Ravens decide to force this one over at B, be more confident, I guess you could say, in terms of their readings, it wouldn't work out for the best. So Dashy, the papers begin to fly throughout the carpets. He will be able to give some information to his teammates, but is it just a farce? Is it true? Is it real? Time to find out. Slowly but surely, the Ravens continue to make their way up toward that back boulevard. Alexx getting all the more comfortable with the front side of this van. But Formal, all the superior, taking him down, making him have to wait a little bit longer in traffic. Putting them in somewhat of a bind. Paul not able to win the fights there versus Scump. Seany will take one down there with the nade. And once more, it is on to Afro in the 1 versus 2. And that will be 2 quick kills, now to bring us to a 1v1. It was literally just the same situation a round ago where Afro takes down Dashy. But the timing, it's all going to come down to the timing. Just toward his side, Envoy is able to win the 1v1, and that has to hurt if you're the Røkkr in that spot, Stud. As we mentioned, obviously realizes he has to go for the plant, waits as long as possible. And despite what is, 2-3 kills in the round from Afro, just does not give himself enough time. Did everything he could, but it's now OpTic up 5-1.
Yeah, OpTic, they just had perfect crossfire set up. Like, they thought that their opening for the London side was on street. They thought Dashy was the only player here. But Formal puts himself in towards top police, watches that street side, able to get that kill, and then eventually Dashy gets into play. Trades going back and forth, and OpTic, they're just running away so far with this search and destroy. Up 5-1, the aggression is going to be turned on as they're going to have all 4 players approaching this A-bomb site. Trophy's sitting there blocking a couple tacticals, but here comes Envoy to start it off, able to get one. PaulEhx answers with 2 of his own, though. Formal eventually takes down 1, and then Seany eventually will get into the play. It's a 1v1, kills going back and forth. Seany gets the perfect timing there with the Diamondcon, comes up Eskies, and is able to win the round for London. That was such a quick round, back and forth trades between both, but PaulEhx really going huge in this round for the London Royal Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, that too essentially allows for, Seany to even have a place in that round. So, like, you know, they obviously pepper up enough Chicago players for what? I mean, Ravens have 2-round victories, and both of them involve Seany not necessarily being in the play, but getting involved in the play late and just clutching out and winning a big fight. So, with that, like I said, the Ravens not necessarily handling OpTic from the front, but at least delaying enough time for pinches to be able to come on through, and Seany will continue his heroics, taking down Dashy to start, and there's Afro with the second. So a quick 4v2. I mean, we're just mere seconds into the round, and not only do Ravens have man advantage, but Envoy finding himself on the flank as he and Scump gonna join alongside each other. Not waving the white flag by any means. This could be a huge round for them going to the control. If OpTic were able to take this, they're able to clutch it out, but a Scump will be dropped. Can Envoy come through with one of the craziest clutches of the entire season? Unfortunately, it's going to be a no-go, and for the 3rd time, it is Seany winning the final fight to give the Ravens the round.
They're staying alive, man. They are attacking the middle of the map. They're trying to stay away from Envoy and Scump at that A-bomb site because their aggression and the way that they're shooting right now, they're not losing gunfights. So they attack the middle of the map. They're able to find Dashy and Formal, and they just hit that rotation over there towards B. Great round right there out of London to use what was available to them in that round to close it out. Still alive in this game, down 3-5.
And I feel like, Study, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like when you're the team, like OpTic, we start off 5-0, or in this case, you start off 5-1. Once you hit 5-3, you're like, okay, guys, I know all the antics we've been up to, that's fine. We try to make the aggressive play here, but, I feel like 5-3 is like the threshold. You're like, okay, we need to kind of, you know, tighten up a little bit, sit up a little bit higher in our chairs, and make sure we don't allow for this comeback to happen.
Yeah, 5-3 is that turning point, because then it puts you in a situation where you're going to go onto a defense or go onto an offense. Then if you get to a 5-5, it's going to be really difficult. But OpTic still in the command of this round. Envoy, the only player at this A-bomb site, but Afro is actually going to try to be aggressive. He might have got good timing on Envoy, but he's such a great player. He's going to turn around and anticipate that play. He's able to get the first blood, but Seany answers with one of his own. Now it's a 3v3.
Well, then PaulEhx can find the greatest of timings. Will that halt the push from OpTic into the S-keys? No, they decide to pile in regardless as two come through. Dashy will win the fight. Now it's into the 2-on-2. 28 seconds left. Is it a rotation from OpTic or is the plant at A? We'll find out if it's the full rotation or not. It appears it will be. Seany once more put in a position to succeed, as that will be 5 in a row for him. As now it all comes down to the king, able to find one, but it's the trade. Seany, despite dropping there, sets up Alexx for success. From what was 5-1, now to 5-4. Seany continuing to play big here for the Ravens in the midst of this comeback.
They're coming back round after round. London are still sticking around in this game, man. And that was just such a huge kill on the side of Scump, though, onto Seany, because he was on a 5 spree. Seany picks up that kill. He's on 6, one away from picking up some streaks that can completely change this game. So even though OpTic lost that round, Scump with a huge kill to at least end it, to not allow Seany picking up those streaks. But for London, back on the offense. This time around, Scump is going to actually switch it up. Him and Envoy, not going to be that army of 2 over there towards that A-bomb site. Scump is going to decide to help Dashy over here towards B, but London, the way that they're playing it, they're trying to spot for some information, trying to see if any aggression is going to come in from the OpTic boys.
That's right at the start. I mean, again, in this S&D, it was Afro and Alexx having a great performance. Now you see Paul putting up a few kills, Seany now getting involved as well, and just how quickly things turn around from the Ravens when this team all fires as one unit. See them in the center of the map. Still deciding, is it going to be the A push or is it going to be B? PaulEhx in the first engagement takes the first blood. Escapes with a sliver of HP, but with that play, due to OpTic splitting 2-2, they will have, without a doubt, numbers now at this A site, but take a look at the one man who could spoil it all. It's going to be Envoy, but they read him. They know exactly where he's hiding. It's the combination of Paul and Afro who are able to put together one. Scump takes down 2 in reply. What an unbelievable play. He takes down the third with the nade, as now it's all down to Seany. Gets taken down in the backside, as now it's Dashy versus Seany. He can't play it, and it's going to be a round victory, and it's going to be a W for OpTic. What a crazy round here for the king, as we'll get to watch it again for good reason. Once that he gets a little bit of a leg there onto Alexx, takes down Paul onto the bomb, and with a sliver of HP, tosses out a nade, says a prayer, and takes down 3 players in 4 seconds. What plays there out of Scump to finalize what was an amazing search and destroy game for him.
That was a 2v4. That was a 2v4 situation. I cannot believe that the king just did that in that final round right there, man. London, they opened up with the first blood onto Formal. Then eventually they did a great job of just not losing track of Envoy. They know that Envoy likes to play that outscored towards A, and they take care of him. Now it's a 4v2. You just have to stop the pressure that comes in from the backside of the spawn, and just to say it, if London would have, if the guy's feet was a little bit smaller for that bomb plant, it's probably going to be a closed out round for London. But Scump, he's able to find one, and then perfectly reads the player on PaulEhx into the second, and then the perfect time nade onto the third. Man, Dashy hits that guy with a couple bullets. That's why he's weak. But wow, I cannot believe they just clutched that up in that final round.
Yeah, as you mentioned, man, Alexx maybe just a size less in the shoe department. Maybe things could have been different. But let's go ahead and revisit that round with our U.S. Army tactical place. I mean, Son, walk me through it. How is this even possible from Scump?
So, like, Scump is all the way at the opposite side of the bomb. He's all the way at B at this point. So, it's going to take some time for him to wrap back. But PaulEhx opens up with the first blood. So, now there's 30 seconds left. They know that Envoy loves to play that outskirts, so they do not rush this bomb plant. They know that he's going to be here, so they solo him out. Eventually, they pick up this kill. Just great work out of London. So now this is where you have to think about that 4v2 situation. You have both players who are going through the back of their spawn. This is where I'm looking at Seany like, you got to be a little quicker, buddy. You got to try to get into this play because they're trying to be aggressive, trying to keep you off this bomb, not allowing a bomb plant to happen. But Scump is able to find two. And then great shots from Dashy in towards that back alley. Was able to get that guy weak. The nade comes in, is able to hit it. And then at that point, when Seany's able to get back into the places, he was all the way across the map. He can't even plant it. So it's just great work from OpTic. Great clutch from Bruce and Scump right there to close that out. But wow, if you're London, that one stings.
Oh yeah, that has to hurt considering they were down 5-1. They're starting to make some comebacks happen, but it's that man there, Scump, going huge, and that round number 10 takes down 3 players in a good, what, 4 to 5 seconds. Amazing plays as Chicago now up 2-0. Will it be the sweep or will we have at least a game 4 in our hands? Make sure to stay with us as it's Raid up next.
Seany, the official eyewear for the CDL. Armor your eyes with Seany Blocks blue light protection glasses by visiting seany.com/gaming. Scuff, the official controller of the Call of Duty League. Call of Duty League is brought to you by T-Mobile. T-Mobile is the shot caller in 5G. Lead the game from the lobby to the last push with America's largest, fastest, and now most reliable 5G network.
The official Seany Call of Duty League eyewear is here. Head to seany.com/CDL to choose from all 12 team branded collections and get your signature Call of Duty League frames. Every pair comes with an exclusive case and cloth for your team style or signature league style. All of Seany's Call of Duty League eyewear is available with Seany's Blocks lens technology, which armors your eyes against blue light. And I swear that Scump must have that technology as well, considering how that last round went. But folks, make sure, of course, get your Seany's. I mean, I've heard so many people talk about how great that they are. But on topic, we're of course speaking of Scump. Now our Astro Social soundboard. This tweet comes through from Hitch. He said, "Seth is wearing my foam runners for today's match because they beat FaZe when he was wearing them. I really am the 5th man, huh? Anything for the squad." Tell you what, man, I mean, you know, I'm not really a Yeezy foam runner guy myself, but hey, you know what? Superstition is superstition. It's clearly a good luck charm.
Definitely, it has to be, man. If you beat FaZe in those, this is a team that couldn't beat them all year. You put those on, the Hitch has to be the 5th man. Shout out to Hitch holding it down for the squad, and it definitely showed, at least in that last map, because Scump was doing some king-like things, man. That was an insane game number 2.
Would you rock the foam runners, stud? Would you rock the foam runners?
Of course.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I watched Hex's video.
Too, yeah.
He said that they were the most comfortable thing he's ever wore. So I might have to get my hands on a pair here pretty soon.
I mean, they look really comfortable. I don't know if I'd buy a pair. They
look
like
weird.
Crocs. They really do. I mean, you know, about Kanye. I don't know. It's not my thing. But you know what, stud? I don't know. Maybe I could. What size are you? Like, you know, you want to go in on together on a pair? Maybe.
I'm your size. I'm your size.
All right. Okay.
My size.
We'll roll the champs. You know, I'll wear one. You wear the other. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Oh boy. As we said, we'll see if Scump. Like I said, maybe the foam runners can make all the difference. We'll see how he plays in this control. But as we said, folks, if you're just joining us, OpTic starting things off quite well. It was a solid hardpoint performance. Followed up by some crazy search and destroy. and what could be the final map of the day. Been a crazy day. The second series could be quicker than we thought, as the Ravens starting things off the defensive end. Literally a nade flies right past PaulEhx's glasses. And with that, it will be Chicago claiming control over an A for a moment.
Yeah, but London doing a great job of just answering with the kills. They do a great job of just eliminating them from that point. So now OpTic have to fight out of their spawn. PaulEhx still trying to hold down in the middle of the map. Some great shots out to Envoy. But so far, the pressure's here from London. They're not allowing this A point to get captured so easily, as kills are still going in their favor in towards the kill feed. OpTic, they're trying to fight out of Art, and so far, London are not allowing anything to happen.
Not allowing any of it, keeping them in the backside of Art as formal Envoy with the dash their way through. And with that, what started off as a nice little play over at the A zone, now look to try and continue. Again, not too much noise being made over at B, but what, I believe it's player 6, player 8, both Dashy and Scump making some presence felt there over at the pillar side. So with Scump's positioning being where it is, it could cause some issues for the Ravens off of spawn. As that A zone will be cleared, that kitchen presence can cause some issues as Paul will finally wipe Scump off the map. But again, it's that play where he just tries to delay Ravens as much as off spawn as possible. He does that, and that will allow for OpTic to have an easier time at capturing A. Now, a minute added to their time.
Yeah, and they have a 2 live advantage as well, so it's all about if they can secure this push through the backside. But a great nade and a great team shot coming in from Alexx. At least find 2. Formal still in his backside, trying to cause some problems for the Royal Ravens players. But be number 1 off spawn, PaulEhx, he's going to spawn up, shoot him right in the back. And once again, London have full control. They just have to try to locate this player in Afro, who's sitting outside of the ledge of this bedroom area. Envoy's actually going to read it, but still lose the gunfight. Afro trying to stay alive as long as he can.
Give him style points at the very least. It was nice attempt, but at the very end, you got 3 players in those green jerseys just staring you down. It only lasts for so long, but 43 seconds left. Ravens have done well so far to hold off this onslaught of OpTic. When will it start to turn the pace? Foam Runners fueling Scump for the time, but does get shut down just outside of Kitchen. That'll be his final resting place. Another member of T2P, formal, still hanging out, but not gaining any time, so that clock will continue to tick away. Continuing to be in the back of the minds of the Chicago players as they've got to get something going. Scump with the first, Envoy with the second, but here comes Envoy for what could be the 3rd and 4th. Afro, the final player alive, and now it's Chicago's turn to stack the point. They've got 2 players up, 2 players off of spawn. It is a 5 versus 11 in terms of life count. The Ravens, that may not even be their concern right now, as Scump has found a lane. That's going to be 2, make it the 3rd, and with that, it will be the point you'd like to think. Chicago come through in a major way, and once more, it is Scump playing spoiler. Chicago answering with the opening offense.
That was just well-timed right there out of Scump. He knows that eventually the pressure has to come in from bottom basketball. That is where they're going to try to break in from. So he took control of that top balcony window. No one rotates towards him. Formo's going to give the call out that multiple people on basketball, and it sets up the beautiful pinch coming in from the King. And that was just great work from OpTic. Slowly but surely, just keeping map control, maintaining that live advantage, needing 1 push, 1 break to get in, and they get the job done there. OpTic walk away with the offense.
Walking away with it in solid fashion. Scump now sitting at 10 and 4. I guess it's the Foam Runners. You know, it's not his skill, his years of of consistency, being one of the greatest players in Call of Duty history. Nah, it's just it's the shoes. It's like a Mike situation,
I know exactly what you mean. I like Mike's situation. Turn the guy into Michael Jordan. I don't think it's gonna be that drastic of a change because Scump is one of the best players to ever touch Call of Duty. He's just doing what he does best.
You bring up a fair point. All right, I'll give it to you.
Doing what he does best, But back into the round we go. London with some early aggression on towards the speed point. Not able to get the first tick. They do have the live advantage currently, but it's only a matter of time before this pinch is going to get set up from OpTic as you have 1 player approaching those water steps.
This is going to be Afro. We could play big here for the time. Alexx is going to win the major fight there versus Scump. And PaulEhx, very much aware of Envoy's positioning. He's been trying to deal with him for the last, feels like 20 to 30 seconds. London still walking away with the time for the moment. Chicago, they've got to try to break in or just realize that, hey, maybe the focus needs to be at the other side of the map. A few players try to make their way in from water steps. They get shut down. But it will leave the point vacant for the moment. PaulEhx spawning just the elbow of Formal. and weakens him up enough to the point where Chicago, they've got to go for the break, and it's Scump who comes through with 2, Formal with the other 2, a clean wipe from the Ravens as T2P signed their signature here in round number 2, 40 seconds left, and now the Ravens are somewhat left to scramble. Formal able to take another one before he drops. Envoy on the instant reply, he gets cut down as well. Ravens may have found the lane, despite the heroics coming in from OpTic. Had they delayed just enough, Scump finds the heal, but it's Ravens who look to find the point.
Yeah, so Ravens are able to close that out, and a little bit frustrated with OpTic because Dashy, the entire time that cap was going down at B, he was just making sure that no players are going to spawn out towards A. He was all the way pushed up through Art, but I would have liked to see him hit a little flank there. Probably try to secure that B point because we all know that is the hardest point you have to try to secure on this map. But they get the hard job done now. So now it's tied at lives with a minute left on the clock. You have a couple players from London trying to approach the backside of Kitchen. But Scump, he's trying to read it. Some early shots do come in. It's all about just making sure that you're wasting this clock, because so far London, they're trying to set up a perfect break, and the more time that they're wasting, OpTic is not too mad about it.
Mention the time. It started to cause some problems. That was really the biggest issue for Ravens in that search and destroy. Was a matter of maybe just delaying hits, not taking the timing as quickly as they needed to. Maybe perfect timing right now for the Ravens as Scump is able to take down PaulEhx. Afro on the return. He's able to clear out Laundry, and so the final few players from OpTic making their way in from not just the flank, but also from pillars. See how quickly the Ravens can look to read this as Afro escapes with 15 HP. A little bit of a bait and switch situation, whether it was intended or not. It does for the moment work out as Afro will extend his spree now to 5. The other SMG coming to play. It's Dashy with 5. It's Afro with 5. And Dashy drops instead of bottom art. So 14 seconds left, and the Ravens have got to make something happen. But what a great situation this could be for London if Afro were able to put in this 6th and 7th kill. He's the sole man onto the point. This is probably the last guy that you want to be in this position, but he takes down Formal to start. The clock has stopped at 12 and some change. Ravens over 2/3 of the way from walking away with the offense as well. Afro holding it down by himself. He does earn the first streak. Can he find the second? Taking down Scump. That will be 7 in a row for him. And a great reply from London. Back-to-back attack victories.
That was just such a great round from London. They knew the situation at hand. They knew that they did not have any art control. So they slowly worked around towards back Laundry. And then eventually, once they took control of that, then they started to fight those gunfights in towards art, winning the majority of them. I'm pretty sure Dashy didn't die for like 4 straight minutes. Like, the guy was not dying the entire map. But eventually, they find him. They're able to eliminate that play out of art, keep control of Laundry to swan all those players from OpTic towards lower basketball, and eventually close out the round with Afro picking up some streaks, which can be a huge point for his team. Yeah. At least try to extend this series a little bit. But now back on the defense they go. They cannot allow OpTic to have such a great start as they did last time, because OpTic, they had 1 person challenge towards A and 3 people challenge towards middle. But now with some streaks in the back of their mind, you have to just win a majority of these gunfights, and that's exactly what's going to happen as they do find 2, make it 3. Now OpTic once again have to fight out of their spawn early into this map.
A little bit of ring around the rosy toward Raid, Envoy. I don't know how they haven't sparred each other yet. This is ridiculous! Okay, Envoy finally drops. Afro, of course, finding the kill. Like I said, those streaks for the Ravens, I mean, that can kind of instill you with an extra bit of confidence that you may not have map control, but you just have the ability to say, you know what, we can take a risk here. We can allow for this team to push up toward this perspective because we know at the very least we've got the streaks. As the Scottish turret ends up getting taken down toward the backside of Mansion. Ravens, as we mentioned, just seem to be having some new life here in this control. You gotta imagine if they could have Alexx just continue to turn up the way that we know he can. Sits at 11 and 21. A little bit of a better performance from him could be the difference maker and what sends us to a possible game 4. Afro pings the streak. Now the fights begin to commence.
Yeah, so London, they're just going to ping it, force a couple OpTic players to get out of their position and try to play a little safe as they thought it was going to get called in. But London do a great job of just responding, picking up a lot of kills over at that speed point. OpTic only able to secure 1 segment there, but now that leaves the opening for A. Scump was able to find a kill towards the middle of the map, but if they locate this player in Alexx, this should be a free A capture on the side of OpTic. They pick him up, but Scump's still trying to cause problems in towards the middle of the map, and this can be great. They cannot spot him. Fortunately, he's going to get spotted, dropped, and now OpTic, they just have to focus on getting this A captured and extending time by a minute.
A minute 39 on the clock. 5 count, not too impacted by any means. 19-17 in favor of London. You can just kind of see me. They have like a full 4-point setup. They got players in every single corner of the map right now. Dude, London is Afro. A lovely little 3-spree toward P5. Excellent plays coming in from him. As we mentioned, he's still got 2 streaks to work with. It's terrifying. You may just have to call one in just to make sure he can earn a secondary. But excellent plays from Afro. Wonderful, wonderful performance so far throughout round 2 and so far in round number 3. So we talk about it constantly. This guy in Afro just has moments in every single series where he just takes over, and right now he's doing exactly that. That'll be 5 in a row, making it 20-11 right now for him.
Yes, now if you're Afro, you start to get in the back of my mind. I'm probably going to get another set of streaks here, so I might have to use mine. And with that player coming on spawn, he's actually not going to notice. So Dashy's going to be able to win that engagement. And OpTic actually get onto the point as well. They eliminate all the pressure from London, at least from the top side. And that's going to be a complete, blind shot. There's no ping on that, so he might not be able to pick up a kill there. And Envoy, he's just going to capitalize on it as he's still finding kills left and right. Eventually, they do a good job from basketball, eliminating 3 players from OpTic. And with only 30 seconds left, they have a comfortable 7 live advantage in that live column. All they have to do is just keep the pressure on towards the middle of the map and not allow OpTic one more good push at this.
Yeah, as you mentioned, one more good push, potentially still on the cards for OpTic Chicago. Keeping in mind, Afro still does have that streak. If he has to call it in, few bullets going away for Alexx. But it is Ravens clutching up in the end as this round appears to be going their way up in live count. And with the time ticking the way that it is, Ravens are playing the best way that they can. It cannot be understated, though. Afro is having a performance and a half. And this 3-spree was just one of the many highlights he's had so far throughout Raid Control. I thought he was surely going to be dead in that kill versus Scump, but he makes good art of this time, stud.
Yeah, he does, man. That was an insane 3-piece. I didn't think he had the ability to snap like the way he did onto Scump, because that guy's reaction is A1 steak sauce. Like, the guy knows exactly what he needs to do. He's going to be one of the quickest reaction time players ever. So I was expecting that not to happen, but Afro having himself a map, like you said, man, 21-14, really stepping up for the London boys, trying to keep them alive in this series. It's just a matter of time, though. I'm just waiting for Alexx to spawn in, because in that first map, he was -10. So far right now, he finds himself at -12, and that's going to be a nice 3 dead on the side of London, make it 4. So now this is going to allow OpTic to try to get a little bit more aggressive and keep these kills flowing in for the OpTic boys.
That's a great start if you're Chicago. Again, we talked about defense. Really has not been the story so far. It was 2 early attacking victories for both rosters. It even took a streak from Afro just to make sure that the Ravens could take it as well. So if you're OpTic, considering the defense should be the preferred spot, but not been the case so far in this game, you will take those entry fights all day long. As Envoy finds himself on a spree as well. The nice movement to at least trade 1. Great plays coming in from Envoy despite a 1-for-1. But with that, as PaulEhx wipes the point, gets a little bit too quiet as he is the only player toward this water side. And the problem for Ravens as well is that they've only got 23 seconds on the clock. They have got to make a play here soon and now. Envoy on the flank nearly gets cut down there from Alexx. A little bit of a shaky fight, but he just continues to stay alive, continuing to cause problems. As we said, the Ravens suffering many, many headaches throughout this series, throughout this game, and specifically throughout this map. As London finally look to surge onto the point, they've got all 4 players here. We'll see if they can cap A.
Yeah, they have to try to extend this clock, man. And this is perfect work right here out of the London boys. Afro still picking up kills left and right. Make it 3 down. You have to get on the point, though. You have to extend this clock, and that's exactly what PaulEhx is able to do, as they do know the positioning of Dashy, but that's going to be a clean 4. And just when we thought OpTic had a nice 7 live advantage, it's cut to 3, make it 2, and Afro still has that cruise missile to work with. So London have put themselves in the driver's seat to try to close this out. Scump has to try to go big in this kitchen area, though.
Ends up finding 1 for his troubles, but again, it's Afro with the 5 spree. Continuing to cause problems now for OpTic. 45 seconds left. Afro will decide to go and call him the streak, but Envoy is going to check his perspective. So hopes and another artillery, much like the streak, are going to come crashing down. And unfortunately, with those streaks, like we said, coming through, nothing really being rewarded. Only positive right now for the Ravens is that you do have Seany toward the backside of jungle. But the rest of his teammates, they're getting slayed out in their base.
Yeah, Dashy's doing a great job of just maintaining that bedroom control. And even though Seany's in the backside, the biggest kill so far of the round has to be Envoy in the middle of that streak onto Afro. Because if Afro is able to pick up at least 1 or 2 kills there, he's able to re-up on streaks, and Envoy does not allow that to happen. Scump and Dashy still holding down in the spawn. Envoy knows that Afro is going to be in this spot, able to take him down. And OpTic, when we thought London were in the driver's seat, they did a great job at capturing that A point. They had some streaks to use on the backside when they were trying to set up that pinch, but overall, OpTic just hold, man. Envoy with, like I said, the biggest kill of the round right there, eliminating Afro for picking up those second streaks. Yeah. Now we're going into a round number 5.
And that's just really gonna suck, obviously, if you're Afro, because you're like, okay, I'm gonna call in streaks. Yeah. We're gonna be good. And then right as you like fade away, obviously into like your pilot position once you're driving the streak, you're just like, oh no, oh no. Envoy picks him apart, and with that, we head to a round 5. Series point here for OpTic Chicago. Victory here would claim this one in a 3-0 and better their chances of what should be a first seed in this group, as long as this victory does go their way. But if we know anything about this Ravens roster, they are not going to go down without a fight. As we mentioned, so much still to play for. Instead, this is a team that's only won 1 raid control. With how great that Chicago has been on raid control, not just recently, but throughout their entire season, it's without a doubt impressive that this London team has put up a fight as much as they have. As Paul finds a nice 3 to start.
And this is going to be great for London because now they have the live advantage. They're picking up some early progression on towards B. And we saw them last time they were able to capture this point first. They won the offense. So they have to try to do it again. But this time Dashy is going to be in the play. Opens up with 1. Scump eventually is going to set up for the pinch. Finds 1 as well. So far, kills just going back and forth. They eliminate all these players from the London side at this B point. So now you have to cut the map and get towards A. But they're doing a great job of just spawn killing them all. Not one player from OpTic has eventually dropped until Envoy in that situation. But just, the clock is still ticking, man. London have to try to get up on the map and extend this clock by a minute by capturing this A point.
Dashy drops. Again, he at least takes 1 player with him. Formal and Envoy combined for 2. That's going to be 3 straight down for the Ravens. Last player in the point is going to be Alexx as he drops. Again, it's a Chicago applying the pressure. You see how much they want to try to get inside of that Ravens base, and because of that push-up, it is now going to be spawning London toward that top mansion position. But again, if you're OpTic, you place yourself so well. You've got such great map control. You can sit inside of water steps. They've got every angle nearly locked down as Dashy combines for 2 once more. 29 and 17 for him. Final 13 seconds, and it's going to be a Ravens rotation. Now over toward A, but it's Envoy on the flank. Nearly takes down the second. Alexx staying alive. 3 players strong right now from the Ravens, but flank after flank. Formal with 1. Now it's Scump's opportunity. That's going to be 2 straight. Merely make it 3. There goes Paul, and there goes Afro. 7 seconds. What it's going to need to be a buzzer beater type of play for the Ravens as they will make their way on to B to stop the clock at 3.1 seconds. But you look at the life count, you look at where this one sits, and you have to imagine it's going to go the way of the boys in green. A clean 3-0 sweep and a 4-0 start here in Stage 5.
And I'm pretty sure they secured that #1 seed for the major as well, man. So OpTic, they are not letting up. They wanted to come in here and handle business, and that's exactly what happened. Obviously, the first 2 maps were a little closer than expected. Even this map number 3 was close. Like, London, they're looking really good, even though they lost it in the 3-0 series. Because OpTic, they're coming off of that fresh win versus FaZe. You got to be thinking their momentum is going to be riding really high. But London, they kept those maps really close, even though it was a 3-0. When you're looking at OpTic right now, securing that first seed, they just have to continue to work on little things because obviously there's a couple rounds in that search and destroy that they wish they can have back. Obviously, when you're going up against the best teams, 2v4s are not going to happen as constant. But at least in this series, OpTic were dominating. That first respawn, they came back and fought back into it. The search and destroy, they started off strong and eventually were able to close it out in the clutch moments. And then even in that control, when OpTic went down 2-1, they did the right things. Envoy picking up that kill still onto Afro was the biggest kill of the map for me because it doesn't allow Afro to pick up those streaks. And then eventually OpTic are able to secure that defensive round going into that round number 5. And it was just a great series from OpTic from top to bottom. But if you're looking at London, Alexx, I don't know what happened. Like, we watched him last week. He came in at 1.8, but here, negative 22 on his control is not what you need to do for this team. He needs to try to find some consistency in his gameplay.
Not a good day on the controller for Alexx, as we said. I mean, it was good moments from Ravens at times, but just in these big moments, as we discussed. I mean, it was just the big moments kind of toward the stretch, the players who had the more ice, who obviously came up big, and in terms of the entire team, atmosphere, it was Chicago winning those fights every single time. So a solid victory here in the books for them, but we also still have to take a look at our Scump play of the game. And so the guy who I feel like we've been talking about since the series started. We talked about him in our social soundboard as well. It is the King being featured in our Scump play of the game.
Like, the guy's just always in the right position. Even though his teammate dropped formal with them great team shots, able to find one. And he finds the two on the flank, turns around and picks up the third. It was just easy work for the King. When you're feeling yourself like this in this SMG role, every single gunfight is going to become easy, especially when you're Scump. The guy's one of the best to do it ever. So he just made it look easy today in this SMG role, regardless of the game mode. Really stepped up in the search and destroy, popping 3 pieces every round. And you could just tell, man, OpTic, they're riding this wave. They love where they're at right now, finally peaking that final form going into our last 2 events, and it couldn't be better for them. Yeah, you have to imagine the foam runners are without a doubt going to stay on Scump's feet, as it has been a solid 2 wins back-to-back, but as we mentioned, it is a 4-0 start for this OpTic Chicago team, still with the LA Thieves to face off against in just a matter of days. But again, the big storyline around OpTic has been, a matter of this being, I believe it will be, if they do lock up that first seed, their first time having the first seed here in the entirety of the season. They've been in Atlantic FaZe's group 3 different times. And now making good on their 3rd. It should be OpTic, who of course does outfinish Atlanta FaZe in regards to this and how everything looks. And then, man, I feel like OpTic has constantly talked about, Stud, when it comes down to that major, the biggest problem that they've had has been the slow starts. They've made runs through the elimination bracket. So of course, starting guaranteed in top 3, looking good here for, of course, a first seed and probably guaranteed a first seed. They just look to be in a much better position given the way that their history really has looked. But folks, we got to talk about it, right? We have to kind of keep in mind, not just as the major on our minds, but also is going to be championship weekend playoffs and championship Sunday, folks. Tickets are now on sale. It'll be live at the Galen Center August 19th through the 22nd. Myself and Standy will be heavily looking forward to seeing every single one of you in those seats. It is going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. And one guy who's also going to be there is going to be King Scump, as he's got to be feeling good. Had a wonderful series today, walking away with a 3-0, as he'll be joined alongside by Lottie after the break.
very much. Appreciate it.
The Call of Duty League is brought to you by GameFuel. Unlock a CDL team pack with any purchase on gamefuel.com/CDL while supplies last. Offer ends on August 31st. Tournament audio and team listen-ins are powered by Astro Gaming, the official headset and mix amp of the Call of Duty League.
Hello everybody and welcome to your GameFuel Victory Spotlight. Joining me I have the Green Wall's finest, Scump from OpTic. Scump, first of all, man, I've got to say congratulations. Great win from you guys yet again. Before I get into business though, I have to ask you about your footwear. I've heard you have quite the ritual now, especially after the FaZe game. How did you get into this ritual? Tell me about the footwear. What is going on?
Yeah, Hector just gave me his foam runners before the FaZe series, and I think that they are absolutely hideous. But they're definitely super comfortable. I actually wore Davis's today, so I'm just taking everyone else's shoes for our matches. But yeah, I mean, if it's getting us dubs, I'm going to keep on the superstition train and keep rocking them.
I love that, man. Hey, look, expensive superstition, but I appreciate you getting the dub across the board, and it's going to have to be a tradition from now on, I think, Seth. I think you're stuck now. You're stuck. Now, you guys obviously...
I don't know how I feel about it.
Hey, you can make anything look good. You're on OpTic. You're all good. Now, you guys went out and obviously beat FaZe last week. I'd love to see a green pair. And being FaZe last week, you know, you guys caused a storm across the Call of Duty scene. It was absolutely incredible. Honestly, one of my favorite matches I think I've watched so far this season. Now, does a W like that add pressure to a match like this and kind of, you know, in your heads as a team? You know, you beat the #1 team in the Call of Duty League at the moment, and you're playing against London, who haven't even qualified for champs. Does it add pressure thinking to yourselves, like, we have to win this match now? We just beat the #1 team?
Nah, not really. I mean, the only thing that we were thinking about was we really wanted the first seed, and that has been our goal, obviously, since the group stages have started. So we were just really thinking about just getting over the match and getting that first seed in whatever way possible. That's really all you can think of. I wouldn't say it's added pressure on us, because at this point we really have nothing to lose with the way that our seasons went. So we're just going in every match, just trying to stick to the fundamentals and keeping our communication really calm and just having a conversation, and it's really paying off for us. So I don't think there was any extra pressure on us at all.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've done just that. You really have secured #1 seed already, and you can make it 5-0 as well later on in the week against LA Thieves. How are you guys approaching this matchup against the Thieves? You know, obviously making it 5-0, a perfect clean record heading into the major, but how are you using it as well as practice when you do head into that winners bracket?
I mean, we're just going into it like another match. We really need the 10 points. The race for that second seed for champs, I mean, FaZe got it, you know, in the bag weeks and months ago, but second seed is definitely huge, so we're playing for the points at this point. Every single match matters. We're not sleeping on any team, so it's going to be a good match. I got my man Nate shot over there over at 100 Thieves, so it's always a fun time to play them.
Love to hear it, man. I love that you're still gunning for that #2 seed. I think, honestly, with the way you're playing, you're heading in the right direction, and I love to see OpTic back at it again. Thank you so much for your time, Scump, and best of luck.
Yep. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, we've heard from the king himself, and I tell you what, OpTic are trending in the absolute right direction, and I am also going to head in the direction of our HQ desk where Nameless is waiting for me. We're going to be breaking down everything we've seen from day one and talk about all of the juicy details that we have had delivered all day long. Don't want to miss it. We'll see you there. Day one of the Seattle home series may be over, but we've had a lot of juicy details about some of our teams after today. So take a look at the Group A standings. Now, OpTic sit at 4-0. Yes, it is clean AF. They've sealed #1 seed in their group. They have one match left versus LA Thieves and looking to finesse their gameplay before heading into Major 5. Now, talking about OpTic, and first of all, welcome. I've missed you all day long on this desk. I really have. It's been pretty lonely. It's been pretty lonely, especially Jay in the casting booth. Now you're finally back. It's good to see you, brother. Now, obviously, we saw OpTic play Ravens, coming off a win against FaZe in that series. And did you notice any of the improvements from last week? Did they put anything into practice that you were hoping to see coming into this week? And how did they execute it?
Yeah, it just looks like OpTic is building on the foundation that they built against Atlanta FaZe. You know, what Scump said, he said there wasn't any added pressure, but, you know, as a competitor, I've been there before. When you beat a really big team like that, you know going into that next match, you absolutely cannot lose to one of the teams that are in the bottom 4. And they showed that today. They were on point. They didn't make any mistakes. We were watching that hard point, and I was just like, this is a situation that OpTic gets in sometimes where they fumble the bag, where they're not able to break. So you're going to see right here, OpTic, they spawn out. It's 130 to 160, a pivotal point in the game, mind you, where Ravens can get a big lead, start to build up some streaks and things like that, but OpTic, they stay poised, they stay in control, they rotate around the back through laundry right now, and you can see on your mini map they're in a unit right now. This is exactly what you want. You want to cause chaos back here, get into a trade situation, because now you're in the back, you're going to get those spawns. Now, on top of just winning the trade sequence, they get inside of the hill, they get the last guy, and they pick up a good 39 seconds on this hill, which is just massive. On their first break, they're able to execute exactly as to game plan. That's something OpTic was not doing throughout the first half of the season. The first 3/4 of the season, they weren't able to execute plays like that on a consistent basis. And this map, I mean, it was back and forth, but when OpTic needed to break, they were breaking those hills. So shout out to them and the improvements that they've made, because they look damn good right now.
They do look damn good right now, and I think every single individual is fulfilling what they should be doing on the map at one time. And honestly, it's beautiful to watch. I think OpTic right now have that finesse, they have that level of teamwork there. They've been working on it all season, and it's come just at the right time. And yeah, Greenwall, I'm sure you love to see it. Now, obviously, nameless NYSL, it's been a bumpy road for this team, and first game without Clayster this time round. Now, moments ago on the TL, Asim tweeted this. Check out our Astro Social soundboard. Obviously, this is quite an interesting kind of gas up, and I appreciate the self-love here. Team captain, IGL, shot caller, bomb carrier, engineer, shot caller again. Route man, entry, objective SMG, Asim. Mr. Do It All with that hashtag at the end. I didn't know hashtags existed anymore, but apparently they do. And I got to ask you, what do you get from that kind of message from Asim here?
Yeah, I mean, he's giving himself some applause, right? And he has to, because he really stepped up to the plate. To me, this shows that there were some frustrations in the squad when Clay was on it. Obviously, maybe Clay didn't agree with the way they were playing, or they didn't agree with the way that he was receiving it in practice and things like that. So he steps down and takes a break, and now they're looking at it like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, I'm just going to rise to the occasion, and he did just that. They get the win today, just basically saying, we don't need him to do this. We can do this with this squad. The fans believe in us because we're capable, and that's what they showed today. Everybody had their moments throughout the series. We saw Asim turn it up. Mack had a hell of a series, right? DC coming in, he had a decent series as well. And then HyDra with the hard carry on this first map for this comeback, it was incredible. That was one of the best solo performances that we've seen throughout the entire season, starting off the series on a good note.
Yeah, I gotta say, with Asim especially, you know, those were big shoes to fill. He said that on the interview, and I agree with him. They're very big shoes to fill. He filled them tremendously, especially coming in straight hot off of a change of scene in Dallas. You know, he's been through quite a lot individually. And I think also, if you don't believe in yourself, and I've said this before, then you're not going to pull it off. You're not going to do well, especially this late in the game. And I've got to say, I actually appreciate the self-love, the gas there. I think having that confidence, having that fire is hopefully going to drive this team to what they want to achieve here. I think it's going to be a tough road, but it's going to be an interesting one. And speaking of the road ahead as well, nameless, Asim seems to think Clay isn't coming back. You know Clay pretty well. What do you think the chances are?
He's got to come back, right? Like, take your break, get your mind right, whatever you got to do. You know, it's a tough spot to be in, but like, you have to come back for these guys. This is your squad. These guys are rookies. They were learning from you all season long. You guys have an incredible run. And just to be quite frank, I don't think they're going to win with Diamondcon on the roster, but this right here, this passion that they showed today, shows that they have potential to be the team that they once were. So for Clay, sitting back, watching this, I mean, he didn't even let out a tweet today, which is a little bit concerning. I don't know the frustrations there, how deep it goes, but I would hope that he comes back after he gets his mind right to get these guys where they need to be, because I think with Clay, they still can be a championship team. So it'd be an incredible story. I hope he comes back, and he's got a little bit of time to do it.
Yeah, I hope he gets the break that he needs. I hope he gets the reset, but I hope this also lights the fire in his belly to come back and bounce back with the team here as well. Now, folks, you're probably wondering what we've got coming your way tomorrow. If you weren't with us at the beginning of the broadcast, then don't worry, I've got you. Presented by the US Army, of course. So starting off your Friday, Florida Mutineers take on Toronto Ultra. Big match, actually. A bit of a banger, that one, I think. I want to see if Mutineers can kind of take up to the plate here, that Toronto Ultra offer here. Are they going to be eating off it, or is it on the floor? I don't know. We've got Seattle Surge versus Dallas Empire ending your Friday as well. Dallas Empire, I think this is going to be a pretty bumpy road for Surge, but they do need the points here as well. So hopefully they can close that one out with not too much grief. I'll tell you what though, we also do have something special coming up as well. We've got Major 5, of course, and we need to talk about it. It's a big one, and if you're wondering when that is happening, it's the 29th to August 1st. It is coming up. You can get your tickets, you can tune in. It's going to be starting at the regular times that we normally have our broadcast, so if you can't make it, then you can of course tune in on YouTube. Now, before we go, you know, who would I be if I couldn't keep up with birthdays? I gotta wish a happy birthday to Patrick, or better known as the Cleaner. He's actually on our Observers team. Happy birthday, my dude. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you've had a great time on this Call of Duty League. What more could you want for your birthday, Nameless, huh?
Yeah, let me say this as well. You know, happy birthday, Cleaner. Happy birthday, Patrick. You're a great guy. Love working with you. But also, when you guys see those crazy cool live shots, when it's like a slow motion aerial view of the action going down, that's Cleaner. He kills it, man. So show him some love. Go to Twitter, check him out. All our observers, we love you guys.
It really is a work of art there, being an observer. We absolutely love it. Happy birthday. Now, I'll tell you what, Nameless, it is just about time to say goodbye to the folks at home. I hope you've enjoyed today, and we will see you guys same time, same place tomorrow.
So 40 seconds in this round, a lot of time for both teams to make a play, both teams to make something happen. And of course, it's Mack once more, 9-2, and it all comes down to Aqua. Will Mack seal their fate, or will it be Aqua coming up clutch to send us to an extra round to play? It's on to HyDra, and it will be a W. Put it in the books. The Subliners answer emphatically here in the Game 5. Final 13 seconds, and it's going to be a Ravens rotation. Now over toward A, but it's Envoy on the flank. Nearly takes down the second. Alexx staying alive. 3 players strong right now from the Ravens, but flank after flank. Formal with 1. Now it's Scump's opportunity. That's going to be 2 straight. Merely make it 3. There goes Paul, and there goes Afro. 7 seconds. What it's going to need to be a buzzer beater type of play for the Ravens, as they will make their way on to B to stop the clock at 3.1 seconds. But you look at the life count, you look at where this one sits, and you have to imagine it's